Well, guys, we're at A&A Auto Stores here in Dallas, Pennsylvania. I gave Pat a call, telling him I was looking for something for the Jeep, and let's go in and see if we can't find Pat. Hey, James, did you happen to see Pat?
Yeah, I think he's around back.
All right. Well, James just told me he's around back. Let's go find him. Look who I see. It's Pat. Let's go check him out. What's going on, Pat? How's it going?
Good. How about you, sir?
Good. I called you earlier for the running boards for the Jeep.
Yep. I'm way ahead of you. I got them right here.
Oh, awesome. Thanks. Well, guys, I gave Pat a call earlier, tell him I was coming down. We were going to do a mod on the Jeep, and one of the first mods is going to be the set of running boards. And these are actually by Rhino. I have two sets here. So me and Pat are going to go through them, check them out, see what we think is going to look best on the Jeep Wrangler. So hang out, watch the intro. While we're doing that, hit that like, comment, and subscribe button. Check these guys out in the link in the description below. And we'll be right back, and I'll see all you guys at the shop. We made it back to the shop, and here is the 2024 Jeep Wrangler Rubicon JL that we are going to be putting the running boards on. So let me turn you guys around and show you the running boards that we ended up going with. These are the Rhinos, and this has a step on it. A little hard to do this with one hand, but let me take this out here for you and show you this. But these are the steps that we ended up going with. These are the DS ones, the universal ones, because they do make these in different lengths and different applications for the different vehicles. And it's just the mounting brackets that are different. But over here on the Rubicon, there is a rock rail that came on the vehicle, which we will be removing. And I'm going to take you guys under there and show you guys how to remove the rail. But the bracket kits are different per application. But here is the bracket kit of what you get inside the bracket kit. You get the brackets. These are the brackets, and we already have this lined up for the passenger side. And they also give you the hardware. And here are some of the tools that we're going to end up using. So it's pretty straightforward. I looked at the instructions here, and they do give you the different parts list here. And they do show you as far as what brackets go where on there. So the instructions are a lot of informative. The only thing I did find different in the instructions to what's going on now is that these oh, I gotta get that little ant there. This changed. It used to be a hex in the instructions, and now it's a Allen key. So we're going to get you guys underneath there and show you how to set up these brackets and how to take off the rock rail. I'm going to get things lined up here, get my tools and everything all over there to the Jeep Wrangler, and I'll meet you guys underneath there and show you guys how to take off those rock rails. So here is the center one that we will be doing, and this is the last one. I already have the front and rears already loosened. You just loosen these nuts off on each side of this bracket here that attaches to your rock slider. And we're just going to do this quick. And I believe this is a 10 millimeter. And I'm using a deep socket because these are a little bit deep, these bolts that are attached to the slider. And now the only thing after I remove these two that's holding this rock slider up is this bolt that goes up into the floor, which this isn't going to go anywhere, even if you unloosen this, because all you get to do is hold it. These aren't really all that heavy, and they're not too awkward. And then what I'm going to do is get my extension, and I'm using a what is this? This is a 13 millimeter on this one. And I just have an extension so it's easier to get. You'll feel the, now I have my elbow up against the rocker here. You'll feel this drop some. Now I am holding this up against this. And these bolts that are also attached to the rocker will also keep it up in there. So once I got this all loose, what you want to do is slide the rocker out. Be careful not to damage your paint. Once you get it past the pinch seam, then you could drop your slider and put this off to the side, and I'll be right back to show you guys how to hook up your brackets, because there is a difference in brackets from front, rear, and middle. So I'll take you guys back over to the workbench and explain to you the brackets. Before we head over to the workbench, I just want to show you we do have the slider off, and here is what it looks like. And these are the nuts that you have to loosen up here. As you can see right there, that's what the bracket looks like. And the bracket that we will be putting on also looks somewhat similar to that. But before we go over there, and this slider is somewhat curved. So if you follow it, and you'll see that it's somewhat curved down at the end. And there is a reasoning for, not a reasoning for that, but the three different brackets that we have up on the bench actually are all three different brackets. So when you start lining your brackets up, and what I have here is a cup that I put all my loose nuts and bolts in. And here are the brackets that we will be putting on. And this is the center one here. And this one, they say that the longer side of this points to the rear of the vehicle. And these brackets go inside the running board and the rock slider itself, because these running boards also act as a rock slider. But here is the center, here is the front one, and here is the rear one. Now let me show you the difference between the front and rear, because we did see the difference when we put the other side on, and this way I did that so to make this side a little less painless. Now this is the front one. Here's the rear one. Now they look to be about the same. So when you put them together, however, they are off a little different. Off a little bit here. As you can see, they're about 1/4 of an inch. The front one is about 1/4 of an inch bigger. And then your holes do not line up. That's how you know the difference between the front and the rear. So the front will get the longer one, the bigger one, to where the rear will get the shorter one, the center, and that's because of the pinch seam up front where the lower rocker panel meets in here to the floor and all that stuff. It's thicker up here than it is in the rear. So that's pretty much well the difference. So all three brackets do have a certain location when putting these on. And we figured that out doing the other side, because I put this bracket on the front and then tried to put that one on the rear. And mounting up into the bottom of the floor pan, it just doesn't work. So then I realized, oh, I had them backwards, and that's how I found that out. So we're gonna take these over to the Jeep, and we are gonna get these installed, and I'll meet you under there. Now that we got the front and the rear situated and installed, now I'm gonna show you guys how to install these. This bracket, the center bracket, is just as easy as the front and rear one. I'm just showing you here in the center because that way I could give you guys more room to view this. But what you're going to do is just get your bracket. And what I'm doing here is I have actually my magnetic tool tray. That way I have all my nuts and bolts in here. So this way it does not, I won't lose them underneath the vehicle here. And they all stay in place. So the first thing I'm going to do is grab my bracket, grab the provided hardware here. And this is the smaller of the silver bolts, and I'm just going to place this up against this here. And like I said, this bracket goes to the rear, and I'm just going to thread this in here. And a little tip for you, and I see why not, because what I did was took the provided hardware bolts and I lined them up against the hardware that came out of here. And the bolts that you pull out of the original rock sliders are about the same that's the new hardware. So I guess if you want to, you could use either or. As you can see, this could slide a little bit. And then once I get that just finger tight, then I will get the other ones. And for that process, I have the bolts. I put the lock washer on first, and then the regular washer I put on. So on this one, what you do is you just get the black bolts, and you put the washer on. You send it through the from the outside in, just like the original rock sliders. Then I get my washer, lock washer, then a nut, run that down hand tight, do the other side of the bracket. Once again, same concept, just send it through there. And thinking that you'd be able to put these on the step, or the new sliders and steps first and then bolt them up, it is hard to get to these bolts. You could tighten these bolts up later on, but it's hard to, you can't slide these in if the new rock rail is on here. That's why we're doing this first. It's a little bit easier. So then I'll just get my wrenches here, and all I'll do is just put my box end on this one, and this is our 11 millimeter now, and I would just tighten these, snug them up a little bit. And what I do is this in different steps. Get my ratchet with the extension. Once again, 13 millimeter. Follows through on this one. Tighten this up, which will suck this up to the bottom of the rocker. And I'll get that snugged up in there, just hand tight, because the originals weren't all super tight. My wrench on here, and I will tighten these up. and we are all tight. And what's next is that we just want to put the steps on next. But before we do that, we will be taking you over there and show you how to put those angle iron brackets inside the steps. And where do I think these steps are going to line up at when you put these bolts in here? Because these are the bolts that are going to go through the brackets to the step, to the other bracket that's inside the step. And there is a tricky one, which is actually here in the center. So once again, I'm going to have to recruit some help to do that. But I'll take you over there to the step and show you how to put those brackets in. All right, now we are looking at the back side of the step, and there are these slots here that you will be putting these brackets inside of. And they'll slide throughout here, so this way you guys can line up to where your brackets are at. Now the hard part on this part is the attaching these to the brackets, because they like to fold over and flip. So all you're going to do is get a little screwdriver. Once you get it up in there, you just move the bracket to where you need. But to put these brackets in, is there's 3 of them, and you just slide it in, and this is kind of like what it'll look like once it's inside on the back side before your brackets will bolt up here. Now there's rivet nuts inside here holding the steel plate on, so you just got to slide these down past the rivet nuts both ways. So I'll put it in that way, slide this down. About to the area to where I think there's going to be. Now, installing this, you want to make sure that this top of this plate is at the top of the running board, because this is what actually the running board slash rock slider will sit on, and then this bolts to your brackets. You don't want to put them in upside down to where your bracket doesn't really do you no good. You don't want it resting on the bottom. You want it resting, the board resting on the top of these. And then as you tighten it, it pulls it in. And to adjust these, now on the backs, now you got to look at it. We're looking at the back side of it. So looking at, and the brackets run to the back, so it looks like that this one is going to line up in between these two. So before mounting this, what you want to do is mount your front and rear, so this way you could slide the whole bar back and forth to where you want it on your application or on your Jeep, and then you will line this up, and it's going to end up in here if you guys symmetrically put it between the fender flares or the fenders. And like we did on the other side, that's what we did, because I held it back one side a little bit more and this and that, and it does end up in between here, so your final adjustments will be this much. You could only move it front to rear. It might land up in here, and then you won't be able to adjust it one way or the other, especially if you put it up in the front. So it's going to end up somewhere in here, and this little tab here is going to split your brackets. Well, I'm going to find somebody to try and give me a hand hanging this. If I can't, I'll show you. I use a milk crate and actually a floor jack stand to hold the other end up. You could do it by yourself, but you actually need 2 hands to flip these brackets, because you know, as you're moving them, they fold down like this, and you need to reach in here and pull this back up, start the nut, pull the nut, start the other one, and I'll show you guys all that process when we're underneath the Jeep. So I'll see you again underneath the Jeep. And what I'm doing here is I ended up using a jack stand to hold up the one end, which I might be able to do this underneath. I don't know. We're gonna try it. I think it's gonna work out pretty well in this application because we do have a nice base here to rest our jack stand on. So once I find out the proper height to where it's gonna fall about, I could just move this one end up and in to start the bolt. Like I said, I'm going to start with the front one, then I'm going to go to the rear one, and I will do my adjustments, take a step back, take a look at it, and then make my adjustments from there. So I'm going to climb underneath here and give this a shot. My work hand's nowhere to be found right now, but if he happens to show up, then we'll get him in here and give me a hand. So let me get underneath there, and I'll meet you guys underneath there to show you guys how to put this in. But I think this is going to work for us. Like I said, I just used a jack stand to mount this up, because then I could work the one end, bring it in, and that's what it's going to look like, something like that. And then I could slide the jack stand. So what I'll do is get this as close as I can without touching the paint. And you guys could run some tape down here if you want to put some tape on there to save it, so this way you guys don't scratch your paint job. Well, I'll meet all you guys underneath the Jeep. As you guys can see here, I don't know how well you can, I do have the jack stand set up, and I am holding this other end up. So what I'm going to do is with my foot is move it in the closest I can to it, and the jack stand's actually working out pretty good. I should put one up in the center, because somehow, some way, this is lining up perfectly. And then that's the tip that I was showing you before underneath here. So I'm going to start these bolts and then show you guys how to, once again, we're going to go back to the center, and I'll show you the center, and then we'll make our adjustments and go from there. We got the front and the rear attached, which you guys are now going to feel my pain on all that, because of I had a rough time doing it with the jack stand. It was hard to hold it up a little bit and adjust the board around a little bit. But I did end up finding some help, which speeded up the process a little bit. So I would advise you guys in installing these is to find somebody to give you a hand with these boards, because we just have it loose right now. And once we get all these brackets on, then we'll make our final adjustments and then get back under here and tighten them. But like I said, here's the middle one where this longer piece runs to the back. So this way it gives the back passenger and the front passenger some leverage, a little bit of strength in these boards. And these brackets also, what determines what hole you want to go into on these brackets is that the front bracket, you want to point towards the excess of you want to use the first two holes on the front bracket, which has the third open hole pointing towards the rear. And on the rear of the vehicle, on the bracketry, you want the bracket pointing forward, so this way it adds more stability for the passenger in the back. So you bolt the running board bracket on the inside here to the back one, to the last two holes. So this way, now this one, we are going to bolt it to these two holes of the bracket. Remember the bracket that I put in here. So this is where you're going to feel my pain on trying to get this done, because you do have to move this around a little bit. So we're going to use somewhat of a little screwdriver here to find the bracket, and underneath here is a slot. So just use the bracket to move it over, and if you have to, you could use the screwdriver to bump it up to where you need to. But once you get one started, then the other one's usually easier to follow suit. So I'm just going to get my retaining bolt, and like I said, you put the lock washer on, and this is where it's going to get tricky, and in trying to raise this and whatnot. So I'm trying to find a comfortable position here so I could put my knee under it or something like that. Somebody's lighting off fireworks, I hear them. So I'm just going to hopefully get this one started and find the hole on this one because it's the end one. This is probably going to be the longest part of the video. Is to get a little screwdriver and try and find the hole area. To the bracket. And then this way you could use the screwdriver to move your bracketry around, which now I could find the hole a little bit and then just readjust the running board in the hopes that I could get this started. And if I don't get this one started, and once again, we didn't. Did I get it on that shot? Yes, I did. How about that? I'm thrilled on that one. Now, what I have to do is just push this bracket up from underneath here, and I'll get the other bolt. And if this goes in just as smooth as that, and that one is in. So now, remember there's that bracket in here that I told you that I ended up lining it up in between these two bolts. So now I do have some adjustment, but it's not a whole lot of adjustment in here. I only have this much adjustment for the running board. So that's why it's important to line these up to where you need to before you attach this, because if this bracket was on this side, well, you have all kinds of adjustment here and nothing forward. So you want it in between so you could adjust it forward. So, and if you had it up here, well, you have all kinds of adjustment forward. So I'm going to take a step back to make sure this is right and get underneath here and snug all of these up and go from there. We got our board adjustment, and I'll show you guys how I took the measurement. Now all I'm doing is using this swivel head here and putting this is 5/8, and going to tighten these all down. And so now I'm just going to get the Allen key and use the Allen key. And it just takes a little bit longer to do this because you're using the, just keep moving it on and off, on and off. You can't see it, but you guys get my drift here. So I'm going to finish these up, and I'll be right back and meet you in the center again. And you'll see that with some of the other ones, especially when you're using this U-joint or anything like that. On the other brackets, these bolts are actually one on each side of the bracket, and it gets kind of tight. So I'll just run this down as far as I could. And it is actually going past it, so we are pretty good with this one. And we're just going to tighten it. And the same thing with this bolt here. We're just going to tighten this one. And we are good there, nice and snug and tight. I think they're a little bit tighter than what factory would have had it. But let me take you guys around now to the outside, and we'll show you guys what the running board looks like from the top. Because most of the install is down from underneath here, so there wasn't much video to shoot from the front side of this. So I'll see you guys on the top side, and we'll do a little walk around and show you about these and show you what they look like. Here is what we are looking like with the running boards on. And I can't say they are actually, I like it. So here are the running boards, and there is the jack and the tools that we use for this application, which wasn't much, which made it nice to have this magnetic tray, so this way my nuts and bolts didn't lose all over the place. But here's where you could see to where I was telling you about how the stock rock sliders are curved to where the aftermarket ones are straight. And that's because of the body curve in here. But this is what it is looking like now. And I definitely do like them. And you know what? We might have something in store for this plate up here. We're not done with these yet. I'm going to have to do a little bit more thinking and see what's going on. But that's what that looks like. And I'll take you guys for a step back. And in a later video, I will show you outside what it looks like. And the other side, of course, looks the same. Here, let me take you around the other side here. And as you can see, there's the other side right there. So we do have them on, and I am really liking this. So, not a bad install. However, it did take a little time because I was doing it one guy by myself there, but I did have to reach out for a little bit of help there. But like I said, if you use the jack stand, you should be able to do it. It's just a little bit more time consuming. And it wasn't getting pretty much while holding the boards in place. It was trying to find the screw inside those brackets on the back side of the steps and the sliders. Oh, another thing, let me show you the part numbers that we use for this install here. And the running boards themselves, which are universal because they go by length, that is the part number right there for those steps. And they are the Go Rhino Dominator D1 side steps. And the bracketry kit is right here. And that's the bracketry kit number that you would want for this application. The Jeep JL 4-door bracket kit. Well guys, I hope this video helps you guys out because I did watch a few other videos to see which way would be about the best way, and I found doing it this way to be the best way, although it is painstakingly with two guys, maybe three, because you could have that extra set of hands underneath holding the brackets to the inside. But call a couple buddies over, friends over, and you should be able to breeze right through it. It did take a little bit of time doing it myself and things like that because, well, that's nature. It takes time to do things by yourself. All right, guys. Well, I hope this video helps all you guys out. Like I said earlier, hit that subscribe button. If we didn't win your subscription this one, maybe in the next one we will. Till next time, I'm Joe. Driving trucks and hunting bucks is how I roll with Wicked Fabz.